Welcome to another Tuesday Night Big Show with Matthew Matson. I am Pop Blender, and that will be the last time you see that intro for this show. This close to getting the new one finished. So that'll be the last time you hear that music for at least this show, and we'll have a new intro for it. So anyway, another Tuesday has rolled around again. Got a few people rolling in here. I was just telling Matthew a second ago with the presidential debate going on right now. You know, we'll see how many people roll in. A lot of people may not even be interested. As a matter of fact, I am shocked that.
Well, I think most of our viewership is from Australia, so they might not care as much.
That's true. Yeah. Although, not care. I don't know. It is funny though, because as America, and for whatever anybody wants to say as far as being the not leading whatever in the world or whatever, but you'd think the world we live in, your own politics in your own backyard are the most important thing, or whatever news stories going on. But it's so easy to forget about people that live in other countries that just don't, their day to day is filled with their own stuff, right?
Yep.
And they don't just keep up with your stuff nonstop. And so it's easy to get lost in that sometimes, to think you're the center of attention. Even when you're driving in your car down the road, you feel like everybody's looking at you. If you start singing to a song in your car, or start, picking your nose, I don't know, you think you're the center of attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you just think everybody's going to be looking at me for some reason. If I start singing along to this song or whatever, people are going to be looking at me. So I better just keep both hands on the wheel. Right now, hopefully, with that debate, some people are keeping both hands in their pockets instead of throwing something at the television.
Yeah.
Anyway, so away we go. But yeah, last time we'll hear that intro for this show. I've got a new intro cooking up. You've done some work as well on a commercial that is different than the one we were working on making the other night. So that'll be fun. I've seen it. You guys are going to like it. It's pretty good. Matthew did a good job with that. So when it gets shown, that's going to be a pretty good time, and give you guys a chance to go get a pee break, or stay through the pee break and watch the commercial. Anyway, so yes, without further ado, the lovely, talented, magical, and mysterious Matthew Matson. How you doing today, man?
Man, it has been a heck of a week, a heck of a day today. I got a whole bunch of stuff in today that were gifts mostly.
Okay.
From friends of mine from different collab groups and stuff. I got some cool new trees.
Nice.
And
real tree.
A hella dope order came in, and then some stuff from my Aliens Explained and documentary series sent me a big package of stuff. So pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, you're always getting something. Like it might not be the left. Yeah, no, right. Don't say that too loud. You got to sneak it inside sometimes.
And Joe Gonslaves sent me a Legion Builder skeleton, because I missed out on that. And so he sent one to me. So I'm like, that's awesome. So I did a big skeleton collection picture that will be premiering on Thursday.
Sweet. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I've been scrolling through your Instagram and checking out pictures, commenting. Of course, it's nonstop, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where you find the time, but we discussed that previously a couple weeks ago when somebody asked. But you seem to make time. And speaking of the big deliveries, though, I was going to joke that, you getting stuff in, you always seem to have something going on, but not as many as Woody Triple Deuce.
Oh no, nobody gets that much.
I'll tell you what, man,
right there.
Yes, he is. And I'm going to go down. And it's funny because I was literally going to make that comment, and then he popped up right off the top, like right as I was thinking it. And I'm like, oh man, his ears must have been burning. So we'll at least say hi to the chat as we get things started here, and as we roll down. I know first into the door. Ahoy, hoy, Frostbite, GI Joe Repro in the house. One of our friends down under.
Likes to
Love
start his streams 5 o'clock my time in the morning. So right as my alarm goes off, I also get a notification that he's going live. So
see, that's actually that's awesome because I am dead out at that time, you know, and my job does not require me to get up that early, and so it's one of those things where chances are I've gone to bed about 3 hours prior to that, maybe even a little closer. But trying to pull an all-nighter maybe when I have to work would probably be a little difficult. But nonetheless, Frostbite is here. 3-star draws in the house, probably working on a review, taking some pictures. Who knows what he's doing? Editing, checking up on the Techno Viper that's making the rounds. For those of you that are in on that and gonna have some fun with that, he's probably checking emails, looking at pictures, guarding them closely. To make a big collage at the end or make a great video. Dreadnought K6, what's up? And then Woody Triple Deuce in the house. Just as I was thinking about him, he pops right up. So far so good. Let's see real quick. Frostbite says, oh yeah, it was a close one between listening to two peanuts who have no impact on my life or listening to guys I like listening to. Well, number one, thanks for the kind words. Number two, I fully understand. Fully understand. I'm going to tell you something, man. And I'm not going to get political by any means. Sometimes in life, the choices you are given are both choices that you don't want, right? Like, or they're just this. Sometimes you can't believe this is what you've got, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. Not to get deep in it, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's just kind of like, man.
I mean, quite honestly, that's the way it is with every political election, because politics in America, you fail upward, and
yes,
and the people that make it to the very top are some of the worst people that you could ever imagine holding that office. But you got to make a decision between the lesser of two evils,
right?
And I know there's a funny bumper sticker that I love every year is, why vote for the lesser of two evils? Vote for the greatest evil, Cthulhu for president.
Actually, that's pretty funny. Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. Yeah, it's just, it seems this year, you know, and where I work at, you know, bartending, a lot of people say don't, you know, no politics, no religion, whatever. There's three things
you can't really avoid it these days.
You really can't. But I will say it's actually been pretty light on the conversation so far this year. Now that may ramp up, that may change, but it is actually kind of light on it, and I've been kind of surprised. It's, you know, all the talk lately obviously has been about football and what's going on there. But yeah, no, it's been very light. And in a way, I'm kind of glad of that because, you know, you're always talking, but you're looking around, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's getting pissed, right? Who's getting mad?
Yep.
And yeah, 3-star, was it 3-star? Yeah. Don't blame me. I voted for Cobra Commander. Yeah. So, you know, that's where I'm at. You know, Cobra Commander for America. Although I'm not exactly so sure that's the direction I would want to go in real life either, but it sounds good in theory, right? At least sounds fun. So anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. Pretty easy day. Definitely was able to get in some Beetlejuice, and we're going to get into that here in just a bit. So that way, this time, both of us saw what we're talking about. I'd like to keep that consistent. You know, even if I have to go to a movie I don't really care to see, or maybe think I want to hold off on, or a show or something, but I want to keep that consistent and try to at least both have an opinion on something that we both see. So in this case, I was going to hold off on it, but I said, let's do it. So got to see it. So we're going to talk about it. You know, don't really want to spoil it for people. I'm sure not a lot of people have had a chance to go see it. I know maybe a couple here have, but at the same time, you know, I want to keep it light, but I do have some opinions. I took notes. I was the only person in the theater. the solitary lone person in the theater when I saw Beetlejuice. So just to let you know,
my theater is pretty packed.
Yeah, I can imagine. And when you went to see it too, it was like better part of the weekend, right?
Yep, it was Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. Movie's done good. I'm gonna, bring the numbers up here in a little while and all that. But the first thing we probably need to get to, which everybody knows, and I got charged today, that the G.I. Joe HasLab Rattler funded. This is right off of Hasbro Pulse. So I kind of hate that they put this thing right here. I mean, I love the fact that they show it, but it does block the screen. But anyway, 28,096 backers, breaking a record for GI Joe HasLabs, 3 of them. Is that correct? That's not
so
the most ever? You tell me.
So out of all of the GI Joe HasLabs, it is number 1 for the GI Joe HasLabs.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it is also number 4 of all of the HasLabs that they've ever done.
Okay, yes, because I do know there were a couple that I remember that definitely were more than that, but this is very good. I guess out of the 3 that we've gotten, Matthew, like do you think this is the best one? I know people with the patches, I know people are kind of mad about that. Do you think that this is going to be the most fulfilling one? We haven't got our hands on the Dragonfly yet. So for this one to break that record, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's real hard to say exactly. The problem is that until people got the Hiss in hand, they didn't know what they were going to get. Right. And when people started getting the Hiss in, then people were more excited about the Dragonfly, and there was some FOMO for the Dragonfly for people that missed it because they didn't back that before the Hisses came in, right? And so this is the kind of that build up. So they got to knock it out of the park with the Dragonfly because the Hiss tank has been seen and perceived so well. If the Dragonfly does well and then the Rattler does well, this will keep building. I think it's building a fan base because it's something different. It's out of the ordinary, and it's not Giant Man. It's not a Rancor without a keeper.
God, yeah. No,
it's
that
not a
awful.
Reva lightsaber. It's something that's interesting that people are engaged with, that it has a growing fan base right now. So people are excited about it. And if they can keep that momentum going, be awesome, which means for, I think, a lot of people, it's almost as if the next one has to be the Whale.
Yeah, I know that's the talk. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm just not there on it. I'm really not.
You also have to think about how much are they going to charge for the Whale, right? Is it going to be a $450? Is it going to be a $500? I mean, it's going to be a big one if they do it, and it is a display piece. The entire thing is a display piece, like Lawrence Punk with Toys was saying. So if they don't do something that big, I don't know what they're thinking, because it's go big or go home with HasLabs, and that's what Letty keeps saying. These are dream projects, things that we can't get out to the market any other way.
I was a bit surprised at 28,000. I know that the Deathsaurus was at like 27. Transformers products tend to always do better, or whatever.
Traditionally they have, yes.
Yeah, and so it beat that. I'm trying to look because 3-star. Well, if I can get,
I had the whole breakdown.
Participate. I was gonna say, if you can find it, because 3-star. So what were the other 3?
So what Sky Striker was 16,784. The Hiss tank was 26,772. Dragonfly was 24,764. Rattler was 28,096.
Okay.
The RID Omega Prime was 28,230. Deathosaurus was 27,442. Star Saber was 27,300. Unicron was only 8,532.
Yeah, that's
Out of Star Wars, the best was the Razor Crest at 28,257. with 2 of them crap in the bed. The best Marvel Legends was the set. No, Galactus at 30,811.
Okay. Yep.
And then the engine was crapped out. And the Ghost Trap and Proton Pack, they were 24 and 19,000. And Cookie Monster was a crap. So
yeah. Did you get Reva's lightsaber? Did you try to fund that one? Was that one of the ones I know you were really excited about?
Super excited about the play features.
Love that show. So Galactus was probably the highest one, right? You said what? 38?
Yes, Galactus was 30,000, and 30, so that nobody's beaten 30,000 yet.
30,000. So either way, I mean, and the thing of it is, to me, what this shows, just my opinion, is that the brand is still strong, the classified is still strong, that people are excited, that they're even now. Look, again, this is even though no one's had their hands on the Dragonfly yet, right?
Yeah.
And I know 3-Star Draw is really big. He's like, I don't like funding a new HasLab until I've gotten my hands on the latest one that we've already done. So now I'm waiting on one, and I've got one in the kitty, or got the money for another one. But
I totally get it.
You. I do too. Yeah. I fully understand that. But at the same time, this shows you that it's strong, that it's continuing, that there's no drop off on this line. And then we're 4 years in, right? We're 4+ years in on this line.
Well, more than that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I thought it was
technically 5 because it started in 2020.
So we're not in 2025 yet, right?
Well, but it's been 5 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023,
okay. If you're counting that way, fully understood. Yes, I get it now. I was like, what are we talking about? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like a football season or a career. So yeah. So yeah, I'd say 5 years in. Yes, it still seems that it's strong. The brand is strong, and people say, hey, I want this plane. So much so that I have a guy at my work who comes in. He's a regular, really good guy, really cool guy. He's a little older than I am. He is not a toy collector. He's not a G.I. Joe fan. And I was showing him the day that the thing went live.
Yeah.
And he ordered it right then and there because he thought it was really freaking awesome. I mean, he didn't order it for me, but he ordered it for himself. And so then you got somebody who's not even really a toy collector.
Right.
That was like, hey man, I think this thing is awesome. And then today I showed him all the stuff that hit. I said, hey, did you get charged today? He said, oh yeah. So yeah, me too. That's the bummer part, right? Real quick, I want to say hi to a couple people that stopped in. Triple C. What's going on? How you doing? Same Time Toys. Shane is the man. And he and Woody doing a little something together, right? Had a first show, I think, just recently.
Nice.
And I was not able to tune in because I think right in the middle of it, I was my son. I can't remember. Actually, I think I was at work. I think it was. But anyway, so they're doing something. So you guys check that out with Woody and Shane, Same Time Toys, and then Bobby Wold. I still think they should have had another figure as an offering, the female version of Wild Weasel or hashtag Wild Beaver. I love that. I ain't gonna lie. 3-Star Draw says what this shows is that Hasbro knows they can raise the prices, give us less with it, and we'll still pay it. $450 whale coming.
Well, so I mean, that's my big fear, right? Is this is the best G.I. Joe HasLab that they've done? So patches are a thing. Patches are a thing.
Yeah, and it's
because that's the way corporations work. By the way, it's always do more for less, do more for less, do more for less, until they start losing money hand over fist, and then they change things, they loosen things back up again. But corporations will always grind you down and squeeze everything from you that they can.
Curious to see the feedback. Now, here's the trick, you guys. All right, you have to understand this. As much as everybody has really kind of complained about the patches, this got 27,000 backers.
Yep.
So you have to understand that, right? Like if we're going to complain about the patches or this or that or whatever, then a lot of times it comes down to voting with your wallet. But see, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because you want this. You know you want this. It's why you backed it. So you're almost in a position to take what they give you, regardless of whether you're happy or not. And that's kind of where we're at. It does suck. I'm not a fan of the patches. I've given my reasons on that. However, bottom line is they did it. They also know that this just funded and got 28,000 people rather. And so that's my thing, is that regardless, bottom line is that it got funded. I am thrilled. I do love it. I can't wait to get it. I will say, and I know a lot of y'all in the chat too, I love that one picture they took of Baroness with the knee-high boots and the leg kicked up and the foot cranked and you know what I mean? And the foot out and looks fantastic. Right? Looks fantastic. It looks really good. Triple C asked, do you think they could go bigger with the HasLab now, like a headquarters, Night Raven, Whale, Hydrofoil, Sky Striker? A headquarters would be out of the question. I just cannot.
I don't believe so. I
really?
I believe a lot of people have thrown out how they could do that, and they do it by modularity, and the regular headquarters, right? If you think about it,
it's not that big.
It's not that big,
right? It's not.
Right, and you can do that in sections. And you know, you get the main section and the automotive section, right?
Right.
So you've got those 3 sections that you can build up and put together, and then you could make it modular so you can attach the same pieces around it. So to make it bigger or circular or whatever, you do the same thing with the Terradrome. You can make a quarter of the Terradrome and then build off of that. You buy 4 of them, you get the whole thing, right?
Right.
You know, and they could build it in such a way that if you've got the space for a little bit of it, you can get a little bit of it. If you want all of it, you get all of it. So I believe that the G.I. Joe headquarters, even the mobile command center, are possibilities. Because I mean, they've done Galactus, they did Unicron.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. I guess I'm not even really, I'm not really putting those together in my head because I'm thinking different lines and different needs. But I guess you're right in a way. Yeah, it does make sense. If they want to go for broke or go for that, they sure can. I don't think it's going to get 28,000 backers. They'll have to lower their numbers because the price on that's going to be $500. I just think it's going to be $500.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've had a $600 HasLabs before that have done fairly well, right? So, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily about the price tag. It's about how much momentum does the line have? How much of a need is this for people's collection? How does it scale with everything else, what they want or what they're doing with it? And how does the community want to respond to it? Does everybody want a whale? Does everybody want a headquarters? Right. I mean, honestly, those are the 2 that are going back and forth in my head, because they've announced that so many of the others are fan channel exclusives or they're retail releases that are coming out. So many other things that people want, the Claw, the Fang, you know, the Snowcat, the Thunder Machine. They've said that these are not HasLab worthy.
So what? So then let's who's in the chat right now. Let me ask y'all, would you rather have a whale at, let's say, what, 425, or would you rather have a headquarters at 500 plus? Like, which one would you rather have, and do you have the room for it? Can you put it together? I mean, do you have space for it? Because that's the other problem we're going to start running into here.
Now I go back to what Punk said.
Does anybody have room?
And what Punk said really stuck with me, and that is, if it's either one of those, it is a display piece. So you are going to put it up on a table or a shelf and have everybody in it, or as many figures as you can put on it there. If you have the headquarters, you can set up scenes across the whole thing between the jail cell and the prison break and the command center and spies in the command center and ninjas coming in and the motor pool with a vamp in there, you know, and you know,
and
guys
for those that do photography, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of things you can do with that, obviously, as well. You're going to have guns that are mounted, and you know,
Yeah.
you've got your kind of uh, motor pool area, maybe, you know, whatever. Like it's, you know, however they want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you are correct. I mean, that's and again, that's me not really looking at it necessarily from the same perspective. That's why I like to have you, because you're more tuned into those things than me. I'm looking at the figure, I'm looking at the product. I'm saying, man, I like that. I want to get it. But I'm not looking at it from the same perspective,
Yeah.
you know, as you are. And so you're right. And for a lot of people, that's true. They have those things in mind that I don't have. And yes, being a centerpiece, being a something that you put people in and you set them up, or you can recreate kind of the, you know, either a cartoon moment or whatever. And you can have everybody with their hand, their fist raised up, standing in front of it, you know, that kind of thing, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Punk so much he had to show up.
Of course he did.
His ears been burning.
There he is. Oh, my bad. I stepped on your toes there. Yes.
No,
hello to you. And also, Aaron, the toy enhancer, is here as well. That's right. Hey, Ron, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, I popped into your stream for just a couple minutes too, and I had met Larry and I had met Ron at previous occasions, but this last year at DFW, they were both there. It was awesome to see both of them together. So it's always awesome to meet people like that, and they're such great people too.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah, because they were at the recent con. The what was it? What was it just this past weekend?
I'm not sure if it was a retro or whatever.
No. Damn it. I just looked at it too. Yeah, well, I'll put it in there. I'll get it in a second. I did want to highlight a couple things real quick, because 3 stars has weaponized FOMO. Psy, give me the patches. Yeah, that's how it's gonna be, kids. I mean, that's it, right? Yeah. Like you're gonna take it if you want the product. You're just gonna take what they give you, and look, it's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, all anybody really truly wants is the vehicle. And yes, if the figures are in there, yes, then that obviously that's great, you know. But Clint Jorgensen is here.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? I backed 2 of these the first week, so I was pumped for it, but can't believe it hit 28K. Yeah, I mean, dude,
I was surprised. My prediction numbers were at 22.
So what was it at? What was it at just 3 days before the stretch run? Under 20?
It was like 17. People were sweating whether they were going to get the Baroness. I mean, people were freaking out about the Baroness. And I said, have you never been a part of a crowdfunding before? Tell me you haven't been a part of a crowdfunding without telling me you haven't been part of a crowdfund before.
Well, right. And that's the thing. I mean, and again, you know, I didn't wait till the final day, as I have famously done in the past, but at the same token, because you can, and there's no penalty, then you can. So those numbers, obviously everybody's saving, bammo, right? And then there it is. And that's how you get to 28. You know, you get another 10 grand on top of it in a matter of a day or two, right? So yeah, I just I'm excited. I will say I am a fan of the packaging. I do appreciate what they do with these, you know, at least with the Hiss. I mean, that's my only comparison. We'll find out with the Dragonfly, but I have no doubt that they will make that, you know, special for everybody that got it, you know. That's one thing. The regular boxes might be not worth a damn right now with the figures, but at least you can count on something special coming with your HasLab, you know, purchase and everything. And so yeah, but I just wanted to highlight that because obviously that got charged today.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we're at, right? You know, we're
Clint, because Texas has 2 of the fattest cities on the top 10 fattest cities in the United States, and we got to make people walk. Get that, burn that fat.
Buddy, you have no idea here in the South, man. Deep South. I think Tennessee is like number 3 on the diabetes state.
Houston always hits like number 1 or 2, and Dallas is like number 6
Yeah.
to 8, somewhere around in there. And there are more restaurants per capita in Dallas than almost anywhere else in the country. And restaurants come here to succeed or die.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. And I'm sure in let's say Austin, there's a whole lot of business going in and out, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Sure.
yeah. Just kind of scrolling through the chat here just to kind of get an idea and see how kind of everybody feels about it. I was curious though, as far as that whale versus headquarters, comment.
Yeah.
For me,
for me, I think those are the 2 best options for them to choose.
right.
And they're going to be the most expensive ones. They're going to be the most expensive HasLabs we've seen from G.I. Joe. And, being the 4th highest HasLab ever, I think they've got the momentum on their side this time. So, if they don't mess up the Dragonfly drop, then I think it'll go well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the line is very strong and it's continuing to stay strong and kind of outshine. I know the Legends stuff has been looking really good lately. I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but I do feel right now that, yes, Transformers, it just is what it is, and it will always be there.
Remind me real quick. I mean, we're talking, just Marvel Legends, just real quick here. How much was the Engine of Vengeance?
The what?
The Engine of Vengeance. Do you remember how much that was?
Oh, no, actually, I don't.
From what I remember, after shipping, if you bought it from Ace, it came out to almost the same as what that HasLab was.
Really?
Yeah. 300. Okay. Triple C
yeah.
says 300.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to say
350.
350. Okay. Well, okay, so maybe Ramon's was a little cheaper, after it, but it was right around there to get all that for that Ramen Racer.
Yeah,
but the Ramen Racer had a lot more options and a lot more cooler things that people liked.
yeah. I mean that
Yeah, no, it crashed. Yeah,
I don't know. To me,
Legend series.
Hey, there he is. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. Either way, bottom line, this thing exceeded probably expectations for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people anticipated it getting that many. But obviously people are excited, and I do feel like that from a flagship brand, Classified's killing it. I mean, they are. Like they're killing it. Now, we're gonna see as we start to get into more figures, right? Like they're gonna have to start really, because for a lot of us, we're from that early first wave into your 89-ish kind of thing, right?
There are quite obviously the vast majority of the hardcore people are not going to go much past 86.
No,
I mean, there's some great figures beyond that. And one of my favorites of all time, Storm Shadow version 2 is out there that
right.
They've butchered on this release, so I'm hoping that they do a better release soon.
yeah, no, I agree, and so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the brand is strong. I think that it has been very good, but yes, I am curious to see over the next year plus 2 years kind of where these things start to go. Because once you start getting into those sci-fi elements, once you start getting into some of that extraordinary stuff, there's going to be people that just are going to start picking and choosing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and that's where things
we've
go
already gotten there.
to
I can tell you, we've already gotten there. Once we got into the Python Patrol and Tiger Force and all the stuff that was released at the end of last year, people took such a big hit on that because it all piled in at the end of the year.
Right.
After that, everybody said, I got to pick and choose my battles here. What do I want? What do I not want? What can I get? What can I not get? And just focus their lines. And so we're still seeing stuff go to Ollie's and stuff like that. But overall, I think the brand is still very strong. So, yeah, I think we're looking at a good next year. But corporations get too greedy sometimes, and
Man,
that ruins things.
Matthew, you already know, and I think in a sense for collectors too, aren't you just kind of waiting on like a shoe to drop at some point in time or something like that? Like, aren't you kind of waiting on that? Like, you don't want it to happen. You don't, obviously, but I'm waiting on that corporate thing. Right. Yeah. Just that thing that just turns off so many thousands of people. Video games do it all the time. We've seen shows and movies do it now, but
I mean, we've seen 3 video games kind of go down in flames here recently. So
in a couple weeks, and those are things that took like, 8-10 years to develop, right? These are things that, they're not planning that far in advance, obviously, but nonetheless, I'm waiting on that corporate part of it to really just screw the pooch somehow.
Yeah. And this is what has happened to G.I. Joe every time is that outsiders or corporate influencers have come in there and killed G.I. Joe, and brought to the board, hey, you don't want to be presented like this. We want something else. And then, there's a whole nother discussion that I've been hearing for a long time. And Chad and some other guys started talking about it recently, but I was talking about it a couple months before them. Bobby mentioned it in something too. It's like, there's potential here that Hasbro and Disney do not renew their license for one another.
Okay.
So that would mean Marvel Legends and Star Wars are no longer going to be made by Hasbro. And you can look at the fact that there's not a Marvel Legends Hasbro or HasLab this year, right? They've pulled back and they've started doing retail releases for some stuff that's coming up. They're still pulling out good stuff, but they've kind of changed their focus a little bit, and Disney keeps raising their licensing fee, and Hasbro's gotten to the point. Well,
I wonder why.
Right now they're in kind of dire straits, so they kind of have to.
Yes.
And then Hasbro is saying, we're not making any money off these toys, so we can't pay your licensing fee because all these things are going to clearance all the time. You're making us produce stuff that doesn't sell. Right. You're not letting us produce the stuff that we want to make. So unless they completely renegotiate the whole concept of what they're doing, it's not going to work between the two of them. Disney needs product out for the new current thing. And Hasbro's like, the old stuff sells, the new stuff doesn't. Not as well. It still sells, but it doesn't sell as well. So unless they can come to some middle ground, I don't believe the contract negotiations are going to be successful.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I think in a sense, after the last year or two or plus, both companies are actually hurting. Both companies are looking for ways to cut costs. Both companies are looking for ways to obviously retain people as well, retain customers as well.
Yeah.
But, and so those are tough conversations that are being had and hammered out between, CFOs and whomever else. Yeah, I mean, look, if Hasbro loses the Marvel license, just the Marvel license, let alone Star Wars. We know Star Wars toys are in the crapper right now. I mean, they just are. Anybody wants to say they're not is fooling themselves. But the Marvel Legends, and as good as they've looked, for them to possibly lose that license, that is going to hurt because those have been selling. And as much as we love G.I. Joe, I mean, and I know I do, and it's the only thing I collect, they need more. Yeah. Right. They need, more legacy. It's the legacy characters. It's the legacy figures, right? It's the tried and true ones.
I think their crossover Transformer G.I. Joe stuff has been doing pretty well. People seem pretty excited about most of that stuff.
Yeah, seems to. They look good.
And that's all Transformers side, by the way. Transformers designers, Transformer creators, and all that stuff. Right. Triple C there. Mask might be making a comeback. No, it is making a comeback in the fact that Loyal Subjects has the license and they will be producing stuff. But
we also have to understand that as much as you and I love Mask, as much as other people love Mask,
that is very niche. It's very
100%. Like you just know that. I mean, again, these are. I'm not saying it's tough conversations you have for yourself. We're talking about collecting toys, okay?
Yeah.
But bottom line is that, I love Mask. but that's extremely niche. It's not
Yep.
one of your bigger brands when people go and people start collecting or people start getting into it. It's just not one of those. We love it.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those.
And I will say Loyal Subjects is hit or miss me, right?
Okay.
I love their comic book Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're not the best articulated, but I still love them. The design work and the playability factor, they're pretty cool. But sometimes their stuff isn't very good. So it really depends on how they focus it. And if they are making the original scale of these products, I think they can do very well with it. If they try to increase the size of that scale, I think they're going to hurt. So I think they're keeping it original scale size.
Yeah, which I think is the best decision for that. Yep. I did want to comment on something here too, because Triple C was saying that, we still have a lot of vehicles before we go. There's a lot of new figures, characters coming. Well, here's the deal. Let's talk about vehicles in G.I. Joe Classified for a second, Triple C. So you've got a motorcycle. You got a couple Jeeps, right? All right. You got a Trouble Bubble. You've got an ATV. You got an ATV. Other than HasLab, right? Like, this is not going to be treated like the 3 3/4 inch line,
right,
from the 80s and 90s. It's just not going to be, because it's not possible.
Right.
And so saying we have a lot of vehicles coming and we got to, I don't know that that's necessarily the case.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. I just think that if it's not going to be HasLab, we're going to see the same shit just reproduced. We're going to see it repainted then, right? Another motorcycle or another, are you going to get a couple things here there? Maybe, but this is not going to be like the 80s and 90s where they're pumping out dozens of vehicles, and or a dozen vehicles every year.
Make the Skyhawk and the Shark and the Claw and the Fang. They're not going to release that in 1 year, right? That's going to be over 3 years, right?
Yeah, right. And I'll tell you what, too, talking about the Snowcat and the Thunder Machine also. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm not sold we're getting a Thunder Machine. Are you sold we're getting a Thunder Machine? It's too small to be a HasLab. So if they're going to make it as a regular vehicle, I'm not 100% sold that's going to happen. Like, there's other vehicles I think they'd rather make first. That's just me.
I see what you're saying, but I also know that there has been a lot of hype built up around the Dreadnoughts.
Of course.
And, that's Lenny's doing because Lenny loves them and Lenny wants this to happen. So I know Lenny's pushing, and cooler heads are prevailing to this point and postponing that just a little bit longer. We've got to get a couple of other things out there. I would rather have a Skyhawk. I'd rather have a Shark.
I would too. That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's what I'm saying. A Fang.
But that's me. Skyhawk. And I know that there is a large contingent of people that want that Thunder Machine. They love the Dreadnoks. They love all of them that are coming out. Maybe they'll do a head swap on the one Road Pig or whatever. I don't mind the Wreck-It Ralph head.
Whatever. You know what? Yeah. And look, I watched, obviously last night too. I mean, I had to work until, whatever. And then I was watching, on the way home, or listening on the way home, and watching once I got home. Yeah. For me, whatever. I don't, it's not Falcon. Like, it's not Falcon. So the head sculpt for me doesn't just kill me. Don't mind him being kind of bigger. That's fine. Speaking of Road Pig. But as far as the Thunder Machine, yes, I know it holds a place in people's hearts. I know it's a special place. I'm just, in my mind, it's like, okay, well, we don't have a Dreadnought vehicle, right? So, okay, good, great, right? That's fine. But after
the easiest Dreadnought vehicle for them to do is, right?
The Swamp Skier.
No, the Vamp repaint.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. You're 100% correct there. Really, I mean, no joke. I mean, it's and I don't put it past them. I don't put it past them at all. Yeah, I mean, it's now. Again, yeah, 3-star seems to be convinced we're getting a Thunder Machine with Thrasher next year. May very well be the case.
It's going to be next year, but I believe that it might be 2026. But I don't know about 2025, but I know it is on a high priority list for Lenny
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and Shane agrees. Repaint the Stinger for the Knox. Yeah, it's you
Yeah.
know, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I'd like to have the Fang. I mean, it's not that big. It's a single seat, right? You
So
know, a
the claw is on
Skyhawk
the
or
list, right?
a
They've dropped
Devilfish.
they've name dropped the claw.
Yeah,
So
of course.
we know that one's coming eventually. But you know, quite honestly, we've got to get something like the Devilfish. We
That's
have to
what
get
I'm thinking.
we have to get something
Right.
that's on the Joe side, because all we have are motorcycles and a vamp for the Joes and jetpacks,
Yes.
right? So we have to get, and the Dragonfly that's coming, right? So we have to get something else for the Joes. What's up, Todd C?
Let's see. Hey, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, like Matthew with the Hawkeyes there. Not Hawkeye, Hawkeyes. Doesn't shoot arrows, folks. Yeah, tiger
How do you know?
fish. Well, actually, I don't know. You do a lot of stuff, man. I don't know. You do all kinds of stuff. I learn something new every week, practically. Oh my goodness. All right. So anyway, so yeah, we look, we've spent a good amount of time on that. It's fine. And easy breezy tonight, baby. Listen, sometimes it's what I say. I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. That is what it is. That's how I operate. I operate very well that way. But at the same time, uh, you know, news comes and goes. There's slow cycles, there's cycles where it's super heavy. And right now, we've got a few pertinent things, and one of them was the Rattler, obviously. But we spent a little time on it, and I know that would be of interest of our chat. I know that there are some things they are more interested in others, and I fully understand that.
I just want to hit this one right before we move on.
Yes, absolutely.
Todd C likes the Tiger Force, and I always have to bring this up because even as a kid, I knew more about history than most people. So I knew about the real Tiger Force. And so I was never a really big fan of Tiger Force, because if you look up the real Tiger Force, you may think differently.
My son was watching a video. There's a great YouTube channel. You may be interested. It's called Yarn Hub, like spinning a yarn.
Yeah.
Yarn Hub, and they do 3D animations.
Nice.
And they do a lot of World War I, World War II stuff. Really, really cool. It's a fun channel. Some of you guys may really be, enjoy that. But it is all war dedicated, and it's 3D animation. And some of the animation, like it looks, I don't know, it's I say amateur, but it's better than any of us could do. I can tell you that. But it actually is an interesting channel, and they use real world people, like actual historical people, and not just the big ones that out of your history books, but other people. They research, they find. But it's called Yarn Hub, and then there's another one called Wizards and Warriors. I promise you, watch Wizards and Warriors. You will love that channel. They love lore. They do battles. It's really cool. Wizards and Warriors, great channel.
Yep.
Anyway, so just plugging them for no reason. I don't know these people. But anyway, real quick before I get on this topic, Matthew, if you can maybe highlight the chat just a little bit. I need to start my coffee. Sure. It's in a Keurig. It's only going to take like 2 minutes. I'm just going to start it and just run over there and punch the button real quick. And that Keurig, by the way, is brought to you by 3-Star Draw. So I'll be right back.
No, I get it. I totally get it, Triple C. Not to confuse the two, the realistic versus what's real, and what's the toy. It's all good. I understand people love it, and the only repaints that I really liked were Night Force. They're the only ones that spoke to me because they actually had a purpose. For talking about that and why they changed it. Good. Fang and the Skyhawk. Yeah, we've got that guy who's trying to make the Skyhawk, and it's not going well for him at the moment. Well, maybe it is, but he got hit with a C&D, and so he had to change some things, and now it looks a little different, and you can make some modifications. So he's doing the whole Ace thing from Ramen. So, yeah. Yarn Hub. I gotta check that one out. Wizards and Warriors I knew about because that's the thing. No boats, huh? You don't like the boats? They float. What if you can actually put them in your pool or your bathtub? Huh? Would you like them better then? Iron Grenadiers look as SS, no big deal. Yeah. Yeah, but no hoods, right? Favorite souvenir from Joe Fest was a Keurig. The Night Force I've been happy with. I can't wait to get the Falcon 2-pack that's coming out. The motorcycle is great. The Shockwave repaint and redesign that they did for that Shockwave was awesome. Still say they need to flip the handle on that shield though. Yeah, you like the Moray? Everybody likes the Moray. Yeah, Moray is awesome. And that would be the next good Cobra HasLab, right?
Right.
Go that way if you like.
All right. And just to highlight that, no, he actually brought it to the hotel at Joe Fest. So instead of using the coffee at the hotel at Joe Fest, he actually brought a Keurig to the convention. It did come in handy, and now it's coming in real handy over here now for me. Because he already has one. He's got a great one.
Clint,
okay, that's a good question.
No, absolutely not. I am not getting the vast majority of Python Patrol. I think I have one Python Patrol figure. One, I think. I have 2 Tiger Force because they have a special place in my heart, Bazooka, and why did I just lose his name? Rakondo.
Okay. Yeah, baby.
Water moccasins, awesome idea.
Yeah, look, to me that's an easy one, right? I love the water moccasin, and we got the figure, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, we need the vehicle, right?
Well, I agree with some people that you release the figure that is a driver for a vehicle,
yes,
but you don't release the vehicle. It's kind of a waste, but Copperhead is one of those that makes sense to me that you could do him as a figure separately because I think he's an interesting enough character on his own.
Yeah, I agree.
that you could use that, and you already had the Fortnite boat. If everybody got the Fortnite boat, and everybody got the Fortnite boat cheap, hopefully. Right. So there's something that he can drive around on, right? But having him head up the eels or whatever, he's an interesting character in his own. But some of the others are like, no, why release that figure without the vehicle? Why would you have Wild Bill without the Dragonfly? Right.
Yeah. I agree. And I guess, yes, I love the character. I love the outfit. I love the colors, but you need the boat. Right. And so, and one thing I will say, you want to see me spend some money. Okay. You release a special mission Brazil set all together at the same time.
Yeah. No kidding.
I had the cassette, baby. I had it all, man. I love those guys. 86, that's right in my wheelhouse. Holy
that's such
moly.
A great set.
I loved those guys. Had them all. Had the cassette tape that came with it. Had the whole pack. Man, oh man. All right. So anyway,
then they need a special mission in Brazil right now if you're paying attention.
Oh wow. Yeah, I guess actually, yeah, that's true. Yep. Now thinking about it, if you are. So anyway, so that's a little bit of HasLab news. You guys all know it. No reason that we really have to super rehash it. I did want to talk a little bit because we're going to get to our Beetlejuice discussion here. Soon enough. But I did want to go over somebody. Want to go over the filmography of one James Earl Jones because I think this is a fun exercise. Because sometimes when you have actors that you grow up with, and it's hard to think about them getting older because, you know, you're living life and then you see him in a movie, you see him in another movie, and then, yeah, eventually you notice, okay, oh, yeah, that's right. He, you know, I guess he is getting a bit older. He can't play the leading man anymore, you know, right? Now he's playing the dad. Now he's playing the grandfather, you know, whatever. And then there's some people. What's that?
No, I was just another one popped in my head that I've seen that you probably have never even heard of. Have you seen a movie called The Bushido Blade?
I think so. Who else was in it?
I don't remember.
Let me look it up.
Japan, and James Earl Jones was in it.
Bless
and it
America.
Was
let me look it up. But rest in peace, James Earl Jones, of course, the voice of one Darth Vader.
Yep.
And I have a comment about that here momentarily, and it also kind of leads into the AI discussion a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, like this guy, even growing up, he always seemed old to me. Like, does that, like, even when I was a kid, he seemed like a grandfather, right?
Yeah.
And that's 40 plus years ago, right? 40 years ago, more than that. When I saw like Empire Strikes Back at the movie theater, I mean, of course, you didn't see his face then, but my point is that, you know, growing up, it's like Morgan Freeman. I've only known old Morgan Freeman. I don't remember a young Morgan Freeman, and I know he was, and he has done films, but to me, he's always been like Granddaddy Morgan Freeman. So nonetheless, I did want to do a little fun kind of exercise and just kind of, you know, pay homage to James Earl Jones. I think one thing you and I talk about sometimes, we both watch a lot of creators that talk about it, is that the movie star in what we've all grown up knowing it is kind of a thing of the past.
Yes.
It has changed dramatically. And a lot of that is due to, I feel, social media.
Absolutely.
And also just the fact that, look, nothing lasts forever. Things evolve, things change. It could be the game of football. It could be video games. It could be, you know, the way we make movies and TV. It could, you know, whatever it is. And I feel like movie stars and very well respected and revered movie makers or stars, actors, is really harder and harder to come by these days.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with social media and the fact that a lot of actors now make their feelings known about every single thing. And that turns a lot of people off because the mystery, the wall is broken down and the mystery is gone.
The studio system had something special when they protected their actors and they kept them out of the media. They kept them off of being interviewed unless it was a controlled situation. The studios did a great job of handling that. So people never saw behind the curtain. And when you didn't see behind the curtain, you can love these people for anything that they do. Once you see behind the curtain, there's a taint to it. There's this idea that they're not for everyone anymore. They are for the people they want to support or whatever. You know, their opinions will start dividing people.
And it's hard to separate. You know, I hear it in sports all the time. Right? A player does something off the field. Can't you separate what that guy did off the field to what he does on the field? Well, for some people, they can. For a lot of people, they cannot. It's human nature.
And it's why Michael Jordan became not only one of the best basketball players of all time, but he became a household name, and everybody loved Michael Jordan because he did not want to piss off half the people that might potentially like him.
Yeah, famously had the quote, you know, that Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah.
And that was in regards to him commenting on, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was
they're trying to pressure him into supporting a Democratic candidate.
Yes. And one in particular, what's his name? We've known him our whole lives. He's one evangelist, whatever, doesn't matter. Bottom line is that yes. So once that wall is broken down, those things, I think movie stars these days do not have the gravitas. They do not have that respect But this is one person who did. He lived to be 93 years
Yep.
old. That's a hell of a life. Clint Jorgensen says, saw Billy D. Williams in the news. He's older than you would think, born in the 30s. Yes. And when I saw him in Rise of Skywalker, I thought,
you could tell.
It was obvious. Field of Dreams, Sandlot, 3-star draw. Really good in that. Congratulations on 100 subs, guy. Oh, well, all right. Hey, rock and roll. I love it. 100. I've only made 60 videos and got through 100. They're all live streamed. But thank you, Eric. And by the way, thank you, Eric Thurman, for hopping in here, man. Love it, buddy. Thank you so much. Sandlot was one of my favorites. Clint.
I loved his Jack Ryan stuff that he was doing too. He was the consistent character through all those movies.
So one of my favorites is Field of Dreams.
Yep. And that was the first comment my wife made to me after I was like, "Yep, I heard that." He says, "Yeah, just walking into that cornfield for the last time."
Right, right. So just get a load of this, as Jack Nicholson would say famously.
Get a load of this.
Get a load of this. Eddie Murphy. All right, so Coming to America.
And that's the movie my wife wanted to watch pretty soon too. It says, after our daughter goes to sleep, we can watch this one.
Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. Did not need a sequel of any kind. Nope. Did not need anything.
And it is the best Black Panther movie that's been made.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So Coming to America, Lion King, obviously, irreplaceable. Conan the Barbarian, I remember that.
We watched that recently.
I remember watching on cable when I had to stay across the street at the babysitters after school when I was younger. They had cable. We didn't. Conan would come on all the time. Sandlot, Field of Dreams, Coming to America 2, which, whatever. Return of the Jedi. That's the only one. Return of the Jedi? What? Hunt for Red October, Clear and Present Danger, Dr. Strangelove, 1964.
Yep.
Sandlot 2. Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. Don't really remember that. Rogue One, obviously, using his voice. Patriot Games, Robots. There's your best of the best right there. That's your 1989 best of the best. Matthew was asking me earlier before we got on.
Hey, man, I may not be a fan of Taekwondo, but I'm a fan of that movie. And that movie is about Taekwondo.
That's great.
Eric Roberts and Chris Penn and James Earl Jones, and it's a really good martial arts movie.
No, there is so many in the 80s too, right? We got a bunch of ninja movies and a bunch of ninja movies and Taekwondo, martial arts movies. Meteor Man, holy cow! Soul Man could not be made now.
No,
could not be made now.
Nope.
Then obviously Empire Strikes Back, Driving Miss Daisy, Phantom Menace, which I just at the very end when he goes, no, and The Ambulance, don't really remember that one. I'm Your Father, Alan Quartermain, I kind of remember that a little bit. Fantasia 2000, and then we get 1977, A Piece of the Action. That's a blaxploitation film if I ever saw one right there.
Yeah, right.
And then just I'm looking, I'm trying to find every actor, someone as active as he was. You're gonna have a bunch of movies in there you take for the paycheck. You're gonna have I definitely say that when it's all said and done, he had some of the most memorable movies and some of the most revered IPs in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Really. So a fantastic career, 93 years young, born in 1931, just passed away on September 9th. That's man. That's something else. Married from 82 to 2016, and then 68 to 72, which who didn't have that crazy first one. But anyway, just amazing career. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it at least. And just bring it up.
His voice will be greatly missed, but Lucasfilm has the rights to the AI and everything, so we will probably hear it in the future. Well, I know he recorded a bunch of stuff, and I know that Disney or Lucasfilm, one of the two, has the rights to it. So
yeah, and it kind of somewhat leads me into this next topic. Now, I've never really gotten your thoughts, I don't believe, or at least your thoughts here on the stream. But I'm curious about how you feel with AI entertainment. And I'm going to tie this into a couple of stories. One I have saved, but one I want to mention right now since we were just talking about James Earl Jones. So, I don't know if any of you know the Obi-Wan series that happened a couple years ago, whatever. They used a technology called respeech technology. And so what they were able to do, and James Earl Jones signed off on this, obviously, as Matthew just said, they were able to take his voice and through the magic of the respeech technology, which is, I'm sure, an AI-based somewhat, technology or just a speech technology, to create lines for him in the Obi-Wan series when it was Vader in the Vader suit. Now, AI in 6 months is going to be amazingly better than AI was today.
Yeah.
And it's only going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
It's only going to keep getting closer and closer to resembling what a real human sounds like, or can play music, can record songs, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
Create art. However, the one thing I noticed in that Obi-Wan show, and you may remember this.
I didn't watch it.
So I will tell you then. When you listen to the lines that they used for Vader, it was James Earl Jones, but it did not have the classically trained inflection that James Earl Jones brought to the table. And if you watch episode 4, 5, and 6, Vader isn't just a robot who has the voice, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I am your father. He has inflection. He has tone. He goes up at the end of certain sentences. He goes down at the end of certain sentences. In the middle, he goes down. That is the human part of it. Now, I'm not saying that can't be mimicked, but watching that Obi-Wan show, it was obvious that, yes, they grabbed those samples, they grabbed his voice, they typed in the sentences of the dialogue, but it wasn't James Earl Jones.
It wasn't alive.
It wasn't alive, and it was obvious it wasn't alive. And before we get into this, thank you, 3-Star Draw, because I actually did have a post-it note. I looked right past it. Hit the 3-Star Draw. Don't hit the 3-Star Draw. Hit the like button.
Like, share, subscribe.
Holy moly. Yes. Like, share, subscribe, all them good things. I know all of y'all in here are. If you're watching the replay, if you like what you hear so far, you love looking at Matthew's beautiful face and my ugly hat, then please like, share, and subscribe. But definitely hit the like button. It definitely helps. And I guess obviously hit 100 subscribers a day. That's fantastic. Very, very exciting. And so, yeah, but anyway, so I just want to get that out there. 3-Star reminded me, even though I have a post-it note. But anyway, so go ahead. Just want to posit that to you. I want to get your opinion.
Did you watch the documentary called Val, about Val Kilmer?
I did watch some of it. You talking about the what he videotaped and his brother?
Yeah,
you taking a camera and like recording and all that stuff. I did watch probably about half of it.
So it was about, him and his life, and it was from his perspective on things. Now, you ask other people in Hollywood, they're going to say other things about Val.
Of course. Right.
And he was not well loved in a lot of the community. And then it became closer to the end of his life, or the end of his career and everything. He started trying to reconnect with his family, with everything. But he also wanted to build a legacy. And with this was before the filming of Top Gun Maverick. But he started working on a project where he was going to record as much audio as he could before his voice was completely taken away from him, so that he would have a speech device that could help him talk, or that they could use it in the future should they want to use his voice. And I don't know how much AI software he got involved with that, but that would be an interesting thing as well, to know that, you know, he wanted this as his legacy for his children. And I think James Earl Jones did the same thing. So if you continue to use this, you got to pay my family royalties on using my voice. And so
Right.
from that perspective, it's great for the family to have that piece of something that you've created, that you were famous for, that they'll still receive rights for. And so when the artist has involvement in the creation or usage of AI, I don't mind. I'm okay with that, because they are using it as a tool.
Right.
Now, the problem I have is when some no talent hack comes out of nowhere and decides to say, hey, I want this to happen. And boom, he gets this beautiful piece of art or music or whatever. And he's claiming it as his own and saying, hey, this is what I created. And I want to become famous for it because this is catchy, or this is the hot new thing. It's the new hotness. But it wasn't his. It was an amalgamation of hundreds or thousands of other people who are more talented than he will ever be, who created this. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with people going out there and using AI art to manipulate their photographs. I have a problem with people going out there and using AI art to manipulate their dialogue, to manipulate their art with other people's techniques. If it's not programmed with you and who you are and what you've done,
Right.
then it's not yours.
Right.
And that's always been my opinion on it. And so depending on how you choose to use it will depend on how I feel about it. And for the most part, people right now are taking other people's material, concepts, talent, and melding it with their own to make something better. And that's no longer yours.
Yeah, I hold the same opinion. I feel the same way you do. It's crazy having, played music, to hear songs that are completely and fully done in AI, and yet the thing of it is, the prompts that they're using to make it is like 60s R&B Diana Ross,
Yep.
Melancholy sound, reverb drums, but whatever. Like, I'm not saying, how can I put this? This is going to sound really stupid in a way. I was going to say, I'm not saying that it doesn't take talent to put in the prompts, but at the same time, it doesn't take talent to put in the prompts. If you can read and type, then you can type and put in the prompts. Yeah. Does it mean you're creative? So is it, and I guess it gets back to when sampling became a big deal in the 80s, right? People were sampling, and then in the 90s, early 90s, and they're taking, and God knows poor James Brown. Now I say poor James Brown because he made a lot of money off those samples, but James Brown was the most sampled man in the history of the world. And every hip hop and R&B artist took his beats, they took his vocals, they took his horns, they took his funk jams, all originally created by James Brown.
Hey,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's too many to name.
Oh yeah.
And so at that point, it's like, well, some people would say, well, it's creativity in a different way.
Yeah.
It's hey, it's the evolution of art. It's the evolution of creativity. But at the same token, I'm with you in the fact that if it's not anything that you have done or contributed in any way, then I can't necessarily say that you're talented in any way, nor can I call it a original creation. And I was about to get to that too. Eric Thurman says you can use AI vocals for shorts now. Yes, and the thing of it is, right now, you know it when you hear it, right?
Yep.
You can't tell me.
Dead.
Yes, you know it when you hear it. When a short comes up, my son watches shorts nonstop. That's all he watches. And I hear the voices come on, and I'm like, that's AI, isn't it? You can tell. But I guarantee you, in a year from now, you may very well not be able to tell. And in 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, you damn sure ain't going to be able to tell. Now, when it comes to art, and the reason I had brought up the James Earl Jones and the Obi-Wan show is because if that show is made in a decade, I assume someone in the room at Disney or Lucasfilm is going to say, at least I hope they will, although doesn't seem apparently so with much of their shows. So there's going to be a smart person in the room who says, hey, but that doesn't really sound like James Earl Jones. Like, it's James Earl Jones' voice.
Yeah.
But that's not the way he spoke.
Right.
And so then they would learn to do that and train that. But what you're starting to see now is that people, so let me ask this. And you guys' opinions, and I'm about to get into the video game aspect of it, because that's the part that piqued my interest, because the actor strike happened last year. That was a writer strike, but also an actor strike about AI and using imaging and stuff. But I'm about to get into the video game part of it.
You only get what you negotiate for.
Right. Yeah. Hello. You just that was one of my points. Absolutely. So here's the deal, though. Do you guys? So there are people making comics right now that are not artists. They've never drawn a panel in their life. They couldn't draw a stick man to save their life. Do you in the chat? Do you, Matthew? Are you okay with someone saying they're creative? Maybe they come up with a story. Maybe they're a decent writer, but they can't draw. Are you okay with a fully AI rendered comic?
No. It comes down to the same thing we were just talking about. It's not yours anymore, and you have to give credit where credit's due, right? I believe that you have to give credit where credit's due. And if you're stealing somebody else's art or concept or design, you need to give them credit for it. You need to pay them royalties or pay them a fee or do something, because you have taken something of theirs to make it yours, to meld it with what you're doing. So it's a collaboration at that point. And if you're an artist and you're a great writer and you can't draw worth a damn, well, then you make friends with somebody who can draw worth a damn, or draws well enough that you like what they do, to combine it with what you're doing, because that's a collaboration. That's what comic books are. Comic books are a collaboration between a writer and an artist and a storyboardist, an editor and the letterist and the colorist, and you all have to be on the same page, coming together, or appreciate each other's styles, to trust them to do what's right. Because I know books that have been ruined by colorists, because the colorist didn't have the same idea as the writer and the artist did initially, and the colorist screwed it all up, and it's terrible. Or the artist didn't have the right design aesthetic that the writer wanted, and so they got into an argument or disagreement or whatever, and the book doesn't work. That's what comic books are. Comic books are a collaboration and amalgamation of a bunch of people's talent coming together to make something that's really amazing. Right. And some of my favorite books have all of the above working on all cylinders. Some of my favorite books have half of it working on all cylinders. I love Cobra's Last Laugh. I hate the art in that book. And it goes back and forth. So if you're relying on an AI to do this for you, then you don't have the talent to do it. So you should be hiring someone that has that talent. Yes, it increases your costs, but there's a benefit to it, because it's alive, because somebody's doing this with you, because you can have those conversations and change and manipulate it, and you change them and they change you. It is a collaborative process. If you throw it into a machine and a machine spits something out and you're like, oh, that's great, or that's good enough, and you throw it out there, you're not changing and you're not growing. The AI is, but you're not changing and you're not growing.
Well,
so
and yes,
the people that are consuming it aren't going to see the life that comes from that collaboration.
So that's also something that I wanted to bring up. And real quick, War Chest Full of Toys is here, and he announces it proudly. Yes, he does. Good to see you, buddy. Definitely, man. And I hope all is well. Yeah, for sure. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up, because I think that the more and that's one that definitely so the more that we
that Stan Lee, who didn't give him credit for half the stuff that he did.
Yes, that's true too. So the more that I think we rely on AI. So look, in the future, okay, whatever you want to call it, right? Will we have the ability to take dangerous jobs and give them to, robot, android, AI, whatever you want to call it? Yes. Is that going to make, humans safer or whatever? Well, yes, within that given job or within those things, right? But from art and from a human aspect, the inspiration, and also one thing that humans are is they're imperfect, and it's those imperfections that I think sometimes are the most amazing thing about art, about music, about whatever it is, because
Yep.
the imperfections are the things you relate to.
Yep.
You can relate to the imperfections because we're all there. When things get to where they're so smooth and they're so perfect and they're so round and it's a perfect, at that point, I think as humans, we start to lose that part of ourselves, and then we start to expect so much more than what's possible given from a human being. And so I've
I mean,
seen.
how do we really inspire the next generation?
Well,
How do we
exactly.
inspire humanity if we're not creating the art anymore? If we're allowing these machines to create the art,
Correct.
how is the art inspiring? I mean, I railed against a toy line that decided to do all AI packaging art, and I'm like, wait, okay, you admitted that you're doing this, so you're taking jobs away from artists. I'm done. I don't need to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing, because you're not being attentive enough to your craft.
Right. Yeah, and real quick, and I just want to kind of highlight a couple things here in the chat too.
Well, that's something that I really appreciated with some of the packaging decisions that they made with the classified line early on, is that they would hire artists to come in and do packaging. Now, it made inconsistent packaging, but I appreciated the thought process behind what they were doing, and that is bringing in individual artists that they wanted to highlight and showcase on this character for whatever reason. And
Right.
I thought that was really interesting because it made an interesting story to tell. But without having consistent packaging, you lose the fans in the line. So I see that, but there are no more Hector Garridos out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess speaking of kind of the imperfections that I was talking about, for instance, like, Shane, Same Time Toys says Japanese Vocaloids or music done completely by computers. It's sick. Yes, look, I get it, but I do believe, okay, just as someone who played music for a long time, did not ever record anything famous, but has been in many a recording studio to record stuff. Go back and listen to music up until about 2 decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it was recorded, and the fact that you had a real drummer and you had a real guitar player and a real bass player and a real singer and in a booth singing a song. And when you listen to albums, you hear imperfections. You hear just like a little bit. It's a hiccup. It might be the tempo.
Listening to an original recording that was pressed onto CD later on, but it still comes from an original recording of a Led Zeppelin song.
Yes.
And I can hear the squeak
of the bass drum pedal.
Yes.
Yep.
You knew exactly
what
I was
John Bonham's bass drum pedal. For
Yes.
those of you that listen, it's Since I've Been Loving You is the song. It's a great song. And if you listen to the original recording, you can actually hear the squeak, 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 squeak when he's playing the bass drum beat, which is like a boom.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh, trust me, I know all about that story. But my point is that the imperfections, now music has gotten disposable because it's so perfected now. It doesn't use a real drummer. They have what's called a VST, and they just play the drums through a fake sound thing that mimics what recorded drums are like. They, it's and not just drums, it can be guitar. It's someone who has no musical talent can create a song now. Now, I'm not saying that ain't cool, but my point is that when that becomes the norm, then what? Right?
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I'm saying. And the reason I kind of wanted,
I don't know if you remember, and looking back on things, you can kind of remember it. Remember the synth wave right? In the 80s.
Yep. Oh,
right.
absolutely.
And the backlash from that late 70s, early 80s synth wave, and everybody's like, you're ruining music, you're destroying music with these fake synthetic things, and it's digital, it's MIDI, it's whatever. And then people took hold of it and kind of used it to manipulate whatever. But it's the same thing with vinyl to CD, and how vinyl recorded the essence of everything because it was analog, and 100%. You could dive deep into true vinyl, true vinyl recording that you can never get anymore.
You can't fake the funk back then. When you had tape and you had a singer, that person had to sing. And also, recording on tape's expensive. And you know what that means? You can't sit there and do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like, you need to get it done, and you need to get it right, and you need to be on key. And the thing of it is, even with AI, being able to put perfect human vocals now, and oh my God, this even goes deeper. I'll get into this real quick because we're running past. So
do it.
Here's the deal. So there is a YouTube channel called Wings of Pegasus. Wings of Pegasus is a guy who analyzes greatest hits albums, live albums like the Eagles, Clapton, like whoever you want to name. You said the greatest singers out there, right? Greatest singing bands, the Eagles, whatever. Do you know right now, record companies are putting out albums and they are auto-tuning Don Henley's vocals. They're auto-tuning Sting's vocals. They're auto-tuning the greatest singers and bands out there right now. Companies are putting out greatest hits or live packages. They're taking already near perfect vocals because humans can't be perfect. So you can never be perfectly on pitch. It's not possible, but you can be close. They are taking people who sang as close to perfect pitch as possible, and they are auto-tuning their vocals and putting those out. So when you stream the 1980 Eagles live album, that is auto-tuned vocal. When you,
oh man, that makes me mad.
I'm not kidding. And I'm gonna tell you something.
Makes me mad.
All of you right now have no clue this is being done. But I can tell you.
And this is the problem with digital.
It is being done, and you don't even know it.
This is the problem with digital that we've always feared, is that it will always constantly be manipulated, massaged, and changed along the way to manipulate to the current ideals of the time. And they're going to forget the essence. And that's why physical media is king. That's why you have to have everything in hand. Otherwise, it doesn't really exist. It's all NFTs. I was just going to get to that.
When it comes, go right ahead.
I think you're missing the point, Frostbite, of what I said earlier. If an artist chooses to take their own material, their thought process, the things that they've done in the past, and they want to use that to help them create something else, that's all theirs. If you're doing it from taking other people's things and bringing that into the mix, then it is a collaboration, and you are lying if you're saying that you created this. This is the difference. Okay. You can use AI, but it has to be yours, or it has to be a collaboration with somebody else that you have agreed to work with, or their state has agreed to work with you, or whatever, however you want to work it out, that you meld your things together to create something new. If that agreement is not made, you are stealing from other people, and you are creating something that is not yours and it's not theirs. And it's an amalgamation, it's a bastardization. You want to say it's the next thing that's coming up. It's the evolution of everything. Okay, hold your horses, because if this AI, giving everything over to AI and letting AI do everything, this is a boomer socialism moment. Okay, this is the lazy ass boomer who says, okay, use this thing to do this thing for me because I'm too lazy to fucking do it myself or learn how to do it myself. And that creates a whole nother gambit of things where art becomes nothing. It becomes corporate mishmash.
It's disposable.
It's disposable. And it's become corporate nothingness. And that's where it's headed to. And it's always headed that way. And we have to fight that with what is real. And that's why jazz lives on. That's why blues lives on. And that's why funk lives on. And that's why true rock and roll lives on. Not what they call rock and roll today, but heavy metal and rock and roll from the 70s and 80s when it was something new and innovative and rebellious, instead of what it is today, which is all pop music, this corporate amalgamated nonsense. And so if you want to live in that corporate shell of a lifeless, soulless universe, that's on you, buddy.
Well, I feel like, the main thing too, I mean, for me is just from an art, like an art aspect. Now, talking about manufacturing, industrial age and stuff like that. Like, I can understand, like, when it comes to making cars and other stuff. I'm talking about just strictly from an art, entertainment standpoint. Do cars need to be made as perfect as they can possibly be now? Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so you're talking about no issues. You're talking about, like, safer cars. No, I'm on board with that to an extent. Now, I hate the fact that there aren't people to really manufacture them anymore. It's more like them just overseeing a machine, that looks like a robot arm. And I get it. But my point is from an art prospect. I'm just talking about from art. Yeah. And so I think when you do lose the human element of it, and let's say someone who has no artistic talent, bone in their body, is creating music or a comic book or whatever, then at that point, then all of a sudden we have to redefine what talent is, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to redefine what it means to be talented.
Yeah.
So instead of having to learn how to play a guitar and learn an instrument and put in hours and hours of listening to Hendrix and Clapton and Pink Floyd and Jimmy Page and Eddie Van Halen, well, now you don't need to learn any dexterity. You don't have to practice. You don't have to do anything. You can just feed it in, and then all of a sudden you created the next, you're the next Eddie Van Halen who knows how to type in a keyboard.
Now,
does that make sense?
I'm sure you know who this is. Do you know who Greta Van Fleet is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Greta Van Fleet, for the audience members who don't know, Greta Van Fleet is as close to Led Zeppelin as you can get.
That's correct.
Okay. And it's a bunch of kids that got together and learned to play music. And they learned to play music by loving Led Zeppelin, by loving rock and roll. And then they took that, they learned as much as they could from that. And then they started making their own things from that. Okay. Now that is an amalgamation, right? That is something new that's coming out of it. That kid does not have the vocals that Led Zeppelin did, right? He can't hit those high notes, but he comes so darn close. And the musical talent that those kids have is amazing. I've got both. I've got their first two albums. I don't know what they've done since then, or if they're still working on stuff. But they did a lot of stuff that was really cool. And it's because they took the time to learn it, to dive into it, to dissect it and practice so that they could get the themes, the undertones, the understanding, the emotion, all of the human elements of it to create something new.
Right.
And that, I think, is different than using AI, because AI is like, oh, I don't have to learn how to play. I can just tell it what I like, and then we can make something new. But that thing will always end up like James Earl Jones's voice in the
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
it will be soulless.
Well, and actually, no, and you know what? This comment I do understand to an extent. As far as Frostbite saying, in the end, I don't have the focus or care to know if the band used 4 singers or an AI singer. What I care about is if the song is good. I agree to an extent. I do understand that. But my thing is that personally, I would rather be able to see the people perform the song. And I would like to know that they actually worked on the ability to make the song. Right.
So
but that's from a musician standpoint. That's just
you go back to Star Trek Next Generation. There's a great episode about this in its entirety, because Data can play any symphonic anything perfect, right? But he had to learn to not be perfect for it to be engaging for the audience, because the audience is like, I've already heard that. Yeah. Right. And so there was no emotion. There was no human element until he learned flaws are okay. He could make imperfections, and sometimes those imperfections are magic. And they create something new, a whole new thought process that goes down a whole different path.
Yes.
And that human imperfection brings something real to it, so something, you know, visceral to it that you can feel, you can touch, you understand.
It's tangible. It's tangible.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
tangible. And
Yeah.
and I don't even think necessarily from, like I was saying, from a musician perspective, I don't even think you have to necessarily be that. I think that just the human condition is that, you know, we recognize when things are the uncanny valley.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
too perfect. It looks too AI. It looks too CGI. It sounds too, you know, the uncanny valley. I do think AI will get to the point where, yes, there will be songs that will be on the top Billboard charts, and it'll be the first AI created song by somebody who is able to type into a keyboard ever, you know, that doesn't know anything about music. I do believe that's going to happen. It's only the evolution of it at this point now.
Yeah.
However, and real quick, I want to say hi to or say bye to Shane. Same time toys. He's got a boogie.
Thank you for hanging with us, bud.
Yeah, thanks for hanging in, man. And so the reason I want to bring it up really ultimately is because you've seen video game voice actors now that are worried that people are going to take work they've done, put it through a filter, right? Not even have to have somebody come in and record any lines. So therefore, you don't even have anybody getting paid to do voice acting in video games anymore. And if you can take somebody else's lines already, or you like their voice, but you can change it ever so slightly, feed it through the program, put it into your game, it reduces it somewhat reduces maybe your time on how long it takes to make a game. You had last year where the actors are worried that you know, people are just going to be using their image.
It's not just that they were worried about it. They were actually they were trying to hire people to scan their image,
yes,
and use them forever. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, Travis Mooney had this happen to him, right? I mean, they wanted to use his image as a background character, and they could duplicate him and put him in, you know, he's 5 characters in this background, and just, you know, run him walking down the street or whatever. You know, I mean, the background characters were getting hammered with this because they were getting paid a one-time fee to have their image scanned, and then in perpetuity they can use it forever. Now, that's not right.
So here's the deal.
Every time it gets used, they need a royalty from it.
And so here's my thing with ultimately at the end of the day is that regardless of how you feel about AI, here's the one thing that you should care about. There are companies vying for the control of it right now.
Yep.
There are 3 entities, or more than 3 entities, but you have your government and you have your entertainment industry.
Yep.
That are vying for control of AI. Because when it comes to AI, it's who gets paid.
Yep.
If you create a song with no artists, or a comic book with no art, or somebody, like, who gets paid?
Yep.
You don't have an inker, you don't have a sketcher, right?
Disney already doesn't want to pay royalties to the writers of all the Star Wars novels
100%.
that they've already consumed when they reprint them. They don't want to pay those people. They already are doing that.
So who gets paid? And the companies want to be in charge of it. So it's either going to be your government, or it's going to be companies, somebody, private enterprise, or it's going to be government controlled. Someone wants to control the AI. So regardless of it being open source or anything, it's not, someone is going to get paid. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes down to. So even if you want to create a song in AI and you are not a musician, you're probably going to have to pay somebody to be able to do that. You can't just do it freely. Yes, there are programs out there right now. You can download an app on your phone and get free tokens every time you create something. Shit, you know, make pictures and shit like that. But the bottom line is it's going to come down. It's all about who has control of it. And who has control of it is going to have many more wants of usage for it than making music and making art. And that's a conversation for another day.
Yep.
But I just wanted to get your opinions. Real quick, I'm going to kind of just go through the chat just a little bit and highlight a few things.
Let's miss that War Chest one later. Let's just skip that one, because I completely disagree with that one in every aspect.
But I saw Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
No. Let me see here. Real quick, I just want to kind of scroll down and see. Let's see. I got some of those. Just want to make sure I'm catching anything. So this is one I kind of like here about AI doesn't have emotion nor empathy, and it's because ultimately at the end of the day it's binary. It's zeros and ones, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard for something that is just zeros and ones to have any human characteristics whatsoever. No matter how hard you try to make it, at the end of the day, it will not be and cannot be.
Right.
And then right here, Eric Thurman says AI will manufacture the ideas that will change society. We won't be able to stop it. You're probably right. And that's where it comes into play as far as who has control of it. At the end of the day, new kids being influenced by New Edition, right? Let's see. I like everything. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah,
I like everything
go
fake music, women, Velveeta, and Kool-Aid. Oh my god! I also believe AI started with chicken biscuit. I love those chicken biscuits, man. Are you kidding me? And a can of spray cheese and a dare. You might be right. It's kind of like how Facebook started by rating the female
yeah, panty
site,
raid.
right? And dude, some of these I am just in awe sometimes.
Yeah.
Dreadnought K6, AI genetics, super scary, gain of function, done by emotions AI. I do think it's an interesting conversation, particularly when it comes to art, only because of maybe where I'm or you're coming from, the things we enjoy. Obviously, there are other real world applications that really, really, really are even scarier. Such
War
as
Games,
Skynet.
man. Did you ever see the movie War Games? I mean,
Yeah,
come
War
on now.
Games, Skynet, you name it.
It's Skynet, yeah.
There's a lot there. But let's get on to our Beetlejuice review.
Don't say it again.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I kind of want to. I need to spice up my life. So let's just say I took a lot of notes. Because I was the only person in the movie theater. And so hate to make a lot of you wait until this point, I guess. But, a lot of times when you have your big topic, you want to save it. And so we're going to save it before as we round turn number 4 and hit the home stretch here. I want to throw it to you first because you saw it first, if that's okay. Or if you want me to go first, doesn't matter. But I'll throw it to you, Matthew. What is your review of Beetlejuice 2, as we'll just call it? And I guess very mild, if any, spoilers at all. Okay, for those in the chat that haven't seen it, we don't want to just spoil the whole thing for you.
So. Yeah. So I mean, you can call me hypocritical, whatever you want. I don't care because, you look at Alien Romulus and how I'm going to talk about this one, and I'm going to talk about it very differently. And it's for very different reasons. And we can go into those if you want to, but I enjoyed this movie. I had fun with this movie. My wife and I went to go see this and we laughed. We enjoyed almost every aspect of it. I mean, if you, okay, so I go back to Someone Left a Cake Out in the Rain. Okay. I've heard this song a million times. I have never once listened to the lyrics of this song until this movie. And this movie personified the lyrics of this song in such a way that I enjoyed it very much.
Okay, you're talking about MacArthur Park. Is that the song you're talking about? Okay, yes. Not the Donna Summer version, by the way.
No. Yeah, the MacArthur Park version.
Go ahead. I just want to make sure I knew what song, because I missed something. But go ahead. My bad.
I enjoyed the performances of Willem Dafoe, of Michael Keaton, of Jenna Ortega, of Winona Ryder. I thought they were good performances, if not great performances. I mean, Michael Keaton was great. I loved Willem Dafoe's character. And some people say that there's too many plot points and there's too many things going on, and he's just kind of a distraction. He's kind of a throwaway character, whatever. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the fact that he was consistent, because the things that he did every single time were consistent with who he was, right? I appreciate the fact that they wanted to do justice for the character that they wanted to say passed away and the actor who shall not be named, right? There's this person that cannot be in a movie, he's done. He's never going to act again. You're never going to see him again. You're never going to hear from him again until he dies. Okay. And what they did and how they did it, I truly appreciated it. I thought there were some things that were like, there's no point of view character, but there is a point of view character, and it's the daughter. It's Jenna Ortega's character, because she's, the non-believer. She doesn't believe any of this stuff is real. Her mother's full of shit. She's on drugs with an asshole fiance, this total scumbag, and her dad passed away and she misses her dad, and this has caused a big rift. And so there's this whole thing that's going on here that I think is a great story about Jenna Ortega's character and how she grows and changes through the process of the experiences that she's having, and how her mother changes. She's in her life. She's an adult. She wants to put all this crap behind her, but she can't. So she's making a profit off of it. But is it what she really wants to do? Is that really who she is? And so her character changed from the first movie to this one. So everybody's different except for the stepmother. And
Delia.
And
pretty much the same.
People say that she's a useless character in the movie. I think she's very useful in the fact that she was annoying as hell in the first movie, and she didn't really change. Some people say she's completely different. She hasn't changed at all. If you watch that movie and see what she did to that man in that house and what she was trying to do, it's the same thing that she was doing later on. She's trying to create something that she can profit off of. And so she's always trying to look for that next buck and how she can manipulate the public, right? And so I didn't like her character in the movie. I thought that she was extraneous to some point. But at the same time, she was kind of needed in that whole storyline. So to say all that, I enjoyed the movie. We had a good time with it. I think it's worth seeing. If you like the first one, it's worth going to check it out. Yes, it's a rehash. Yes, no, it's not as good as the first one. It doesn't have the same notes. It's different. It's the next generation.
I'll give you that. It is different.
It's the next generation. So that's my take on it. What do you think, Bob?
Well, first, I guess let me ask you, what rating out of a 10 scale would you say you're on that? Or should I wait for my
you know what? I go throw it at me. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to say about this is that I'm going to forget this movie in about 2 weeks. So I made several notes, and because I was the only person in the theater, I didn't have to worry about my phone being open. I even recorded the MacArthur Park entire section at the part of the movie it comes in.
Yeah.
I will forget this movie in a couple weeks because I think it is kind of all over the place. Now, let me preface this by saying the original Beetlejuice movie I watched about 3 or 4 years ago with my son, and I was so excited to show him. I've mentioned this to you before. I was so excited to show him, and I thought, God, I remember as a kid, I thought it was so funny, and God, I've seen it God knows how many times over the years, right? You can move in TNT or USA or whatever it's on, right? Whatever channel, and you just leave it on or whatever. So I have fond memories of the movie. When I watched the first movie again, it did not hold up for me the way I thought it did as a kid. Were there good parts? Yes. But it did not, dialogue-wise, not quite. Okay. That being said, The first movie is rather irreverent. It has a lot of one-liners. It kind of, there's some things in it that just kind of come out of nowhere. Beetlejuice is only in the film for 15 minutes in the original movie. So this movie for me, while I did enjoy a couple of the characters, Delia being one of the main ones, I did enjoy her character because I thought she had some of the funniest lines.
She does have some good lines.
She does. She has some of the funniest lines in the movie, in my opinion. I thought that they respected the character of Charles.
Yeah.
Charles Dietz. What I mentioned earlier about separating the football player from what's on the field, right? What they do off the field, on the field. Now, don't get me wrong. I detest what this man did back in 2001 or 2002, whatever, when that happened.
Yep.
However, as I go down my notes, I'm just going to mention a few things for you guys, and you tell me what you feel like my score may be when I get done with these. Thought the way they dealt with the death of Charles was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. The funeral scene was pretty funny to me. Not in the way you may expect it, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Yep.
I thought that the Corpse Bride character was underbaked, not fully realized, very little backstory, and wrapped up very unsatisfyingly. I thought that Rory, the love interest of Lydia, is a character that could have taken a hike in the movie. Also a very unsatisfying plot line, in my opinion. Someone you don't even know whether to root against or for, and I get that in a way, but in also in a way, I'm not so sure necessarily maybe ended up the way that I thought they should have or would have. As much as Jeffrey Jones isn't in this movie, he is in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
A lot.
Yeah.
Quite a bit more. His character,
Charles
Dietz, is in this movie quite a bit. Quite a bit. More than I even thought. So
yeah.
In a clever way. Very clever way.
Yep.
I will tell you that I do love the Soul Train. I love the Soul Train. I love the Soul Train so much, I want to be on the Soul Train.
That was so awesome.
Let's see here. I thought that the husband was a weird plot line, kind of weak. That I say the husband, what I mean is also the Rory character. I just thought it just really was kind of in there. I just thought it was odd. I think Justin Theroux is a good actor in a way. He's been acting for 30 years in Hollywood, it seems like, at this point. But
so
I thought
funny is on Friday, I'm a part of a Warner Brothers A-list community survey type of thing.
Okay.
And I went through the whole survey, and it was all about Beetlejuice. And it was asking me about all the actors from that movie. And I was going through them all, and I hadn't seen the movie yet. And I was going through all the actors, and I'm like, yeah, I like this one. I like this one. Okay, whatever. And it got to the Rory's, whoever that actor is.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that guy is. And I'm like, I have no connection
I believe that
whatsoever. And he may be acting a lot, but at the same time, I enjoyed his involvement in the story.
Okay.
And how he
fits into the movie, I guess.
Because he shaped Lydia into who she is and how she's dealing with things.
I think Lydia is the same person she always was.
I don't.
With or without him. I think she is exactly her voice, her tone, the way she talks is like the same Lydia that I saw in 1988. She sounds like she is the same age as she was in 1988, especially the first 30, 40 minutes of the movie, at least the first hour.
I
of the
really
movie.
don't. I think
That
she's more
character
Stranger
sounded,
Things. She's
man,
more
I'm
Stranger Things mom than she
no,
was Lydia.
man. When you go back and rewatch this movie and you see her first probably 15 lines of the movie, she sounds exactly like she did in 1988.
Well,
Exactly
okay,
like.
maybe, but
And she's a grown ass woman now.
her character choices are so different
No,
than what
I'm not,
Lydia's would have been that it
I,
doesn't feel like Lydia as much, and you can see how this slime bag has manipulated her
yeah,
into doing that. And you know,
I get that.
Mahler doesn't think that he thinks that he's a Stranger Things version.
I mean,
too.
I just, you know, to me, I don't know. I liked what they set up with her and how her life has turned out in the movie, but ultimately, and I liked her as well in the movie, right? I like Delia the best, honestly. Beetlejuice, in a way, for me, is kind of, you know, he's in there. But I'd had no feelings of like, wow, this is magical. I will tell you that my favorite things about the movie, well, no, not yet. Willem Dafoe, okay, it didn't really go anywhere. It was pointless, very pointless. Like some of the characters, pointless. I love the set design. I love the lighting. I thought the classic Tim Burton with the sets and the stairs that are this way and that way in the background, and you kind of look and you see like the different characters and people are just kind of doing their own thing, or there's kind of a character doing a funny little thing here. The inventiveness of having characters who die in a certain way, especially when Charles Dietz sits down on the couch when he first walks in, and then you got the guy with the surfboard next to him. I thought that was really funny.
Awesome.
I thought that was great, right? So there's some good gags in there, some good funny moments. I thought it was great usage of low budget. I don't imagine this film has a very high budget, and I think that the practical effects were actually pretty good. I do find it hard, and I agree with a comment that I heard earlier about shooting on digital film. I think that shooting on digital, when you talk about practical effects, you talk about makeup, makes it harder and harder to feel to look at someone as if you can buy them in that character, or it just looks like they have makeup on. And I felt that in some of the scenes. Now, I will tell you the good points of the movie that I did like. I like the throwback scene with Beetlejuice, black and white. I like the telling of that scene in a foreign language. I thought that was funny. That was a nice nod.
Yeah,
I did appreciate the claymation series, or stop motion, I guess you could say, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, Delia steals the show. I thought she got the shaft, but at the end of the day, she got in a way what she wanted. Which, you know, but I did love the fact that, you know, she's built this empire, right? You know, she's the same, right, you know, person as she was in the first film. It did not have the charm of the first film. I agree. I don't think anybody's going to remember a line out of this movie. There may be one or two at best, but there is no one-liners that anybody's going to talk about 25 years or 35 years from now like they did for the first film. Not a single one. There's not going to be one. I thought that Jenna Ortega, who I think she's super cute, but her plot line as well, you know, I thought the middle of the movie really dragged, and that's when we got into that. I thought it really dragged. And I think overall, I'm glad I saw the film. It is not as good as the first one, but many sequels are never that good, especially 35 years later.
Right.
But I will say, like I said at the beginning of this review, I will not really remember this movie in 2 to 3 weeks. There are two fantastic jokes, one meta and the other's actually pretty filthy. Look, Beetlejuice has his moments. I'm glad we have a movie like this in 2024. I'm glad there's a budget movie like this being made. I'm not saying it didn't have a good budget, but what my point is it's not a superhero film. Right. It's not a 3-hour marathon. It's an hour and 44 minutes long. You know, and two of the worst things about the movie is the Jack Black and Khal Drogo Minecraft preview that came on before, which is one of the gayest things I've seen in forever. And then the Santa Claus movie. And then the Santa Claus movie that's coming out with The Rock and whatever, and they got to
I don't
save
know. That one
Santa.
looks
That's
more fun
shitty.
to me.
Well, I mean, whatever. And bottom line is, I give this a 6 out of 10. I laughed a couple times, but in all honesty, I'm probably going to forget about this movie in 2 or 3 weeks, and I will probably never think of it again.
I love this whole discussion. I love the fact that I like something and that you didn't. I knew this was going to happen at some point, and not the other way around.
Right.
And you know, I don't want to say I loved it, but we enjoyed it so much that this
and I'm glad.
This is a keeper. You know, I laughed out loud at a couple things in this. I think it's worth going to see. I think it's worth going to see in the theater if you are so inclined. If you liked the first one, if you loved the first one, I think that you're going to find a lot to like about this. Now, Pop, on second viewing, doesn't appreciate the movie the same way that I do, because me and my wife and my daughter have enjoyed this movie for a long time. And my daughter likes this movie. She's 8 years old, and she likes the first movie. She hasn't seen the second one. And she doesn't get all the jokes, but she still appreciates it. And so, you know, there's a different aspect of it. And so I love the fact that we disagree on it.
Yeah, I wanted so badly. I knew that 3-Star Draw was really excited for this movie as well. And when he gets excited for something, it means something. Trust me. I know that. Like, when he gets excited for something, that means something, and he really wants to. I will tell you, I disagree with you. I do not think you need to pay the money. I saw a matinee that cost me $17 to the, you know. So, and that's a matinee. I don't think you need to see this in the theater. I don't think there's any effects or anything about this movie that warrants seeing it on a big screen. I think you could watch it at home just fine, and people will probably enjoy it. I think a lot of the money that's going to come out of this film is from nostalgia. Now, are there member berries? Yes, Bob is a member berry. What was Bob in the last film other than a guy sitting by him at the end? And it was nothing. That was a nothing moment other than for us to kind of crack at Beetlejuice, who gets his head shrunk. The Bob character now having 10 cousins and 4 brothers and whatever, like, I just don't get it. And then the whole plot line with them escaping went nowhere. They're in the real world, for Christ's sakes. We got to see nothing come of that. Like, you know, and I'm not spoiling a lot because there's a blend of the real world and the afterlife in Beetlejuice. It happens. We see it. Are there callbacks? Yes, there are. Are there some that just don't, okay? Yes. You know, some of them are fun. Some of them don't make any sense. And it's
You're right, Pop. That is a plot hole, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, so what? What now? You see all these people running around going, it's Halloween. It's like, you know, that shit was weird. And by the way, don't stay for the credits. You're going to see all of everything before the credits start. There's no post-credit scene. There's no mid-credit scene. So don't sit there forever. If you do, go see it. Just telling you that up front so that you save yourself 5 or 7 minutes of sitting there going, well, it's got to be in a mid-credit scene. It's got to be a Marvel movie, right? So, I wanted to, and I just didn't. I'm glad I saw it. I wish I hadn't paid $17. I know you paid a lot more than that. It is what it is. You enjoyed it with your family. I'm glad for that, actually. And I think maybe with another person, I may have enjoyed it more so than by myself. But I give it a 6. I'm sticking to it. You know, and so yeah, that's that. You give it a 7. You're not much higher than me.
Well, I mean, you got to take into account my scale. So I take a different perspective on scales. I deal with the pain scale every day, and my interpretation of the pain scale is different than other people's. And I've got a jiu-jitsu friend of mine that agrees with me. It's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10's the highest, that means I'm unconscious.
Yeah, no one's a 10.
If it's a 9,
right.
I'm screaming so loud uncontrollably that you can hear me 100 miles away, right? You know, and I go down from there. Right. So if it's a 10 out of 10 movie, it's got to be fucking perfect. Right. And so if I give something a 9, you got to know that's an outstanding movie, in my opinion.
Right.
If I give something an 8, you know that's a damn good movie and you should probably go see it. If I give something a 7, that's something that I enjoyed. Not everybody will, but I enjoyed it enough to want to have it in my collection, you know?
Right.
And then go down from there.
Yeah. And I can understand that. It's funny because you know, 3-star draw saying I don't feel like it's necessarily a have to see in the theater kind of movie.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. But with friends, I think some of the callbacks, or with family where you've watched it as a family, like you say, might be fun. It's not too vulgar for really anything. You know, there's some of that crassness, but it's really super PG or whatever. I mean, you know, War Chest says I didn't much care for it either, Pop, but I never had a deep love for the first one. I liked it, but I don't believe it's ever made me want to watch it again, or this one. And that's kind of how I feel. Like when I went back and rewatched that first one, I was like, you know, yeah, if I don't see this movie again for the rest of my life, not in a negative way, just in a way that, like, I think I've seen enough of it that I know, and I don't think anything new is going to be brought to my attention by watching the original, and definitely not by watching this one, I guess. My knee tattoo was about a 7 in the pain threshold. Yeah. And I get that. I understand that pain threshold. Definitely. And, Todd C's wife gave it a 7. Yeah. Right. Gave you a 7. Ouch. Maybe not bad on Matthew's pain threshold. A 7's pretty damn good, buddy. You might be doing all the right things. None of us will ever be a perfect 10. It's just the way it is. Well, War Chest continues. Well done for follow-up. Just not that big a deal for me. Just on the childhood attachment like I do to Goonies or Last Starfighter. And I get that, right? We all have those ones we've been attached to. I guess in my mind, I thought that Beetlejuice was one of those from my childhood until I watched it, you know, just a few years ago. But look, I've had this same feeling with other movies from my childhood that I thought rocked, and then I went back and watched them and saw them for all their flaws and stuff. Doesn't mean I still don't enjoy it. Doesn't mean I still don't like it. But I do feel like there were a lot of really pointless, maybe not pointless, a lot of plot threads. They don't all, things seem very rushed in the third act. But the first movie was rushed in the third act.
Yeah.
You know, as a matter of fact, you know, looking back, the point where he asks Lydia or puts the contract out to marry him, that shit all happens in like just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's literally within just a few minutes of each other. Like, I thought there were things they could have done in this movie that just would have set things up a little better. And I really did feel the villain we've somewhat been told, Monica Bellucci's character, and just it came and went with a whimper.
It really wasn't the villain. It was a plot device.
Yeah, but the device of what though? Just to save everybody from this person who has done this to other people, like in the last few minutes. Like, I mean, other than it being Beetlejuice's ex-wife, I mean, we all know that, right? I'm not spoiling anything.
So,
but you see what I'm saying? It's just kind of
it's a thread from the previous movie that they're bringing forward, and they use it as a plot device to motivate Beetlejuice to do some of the things that he did. So, I mean, there's that aspect to it. So she wasn't the villain of the movie. And maybe that's kind of the problem with modern movies, is that they don't want to have a villain. They want to have this emotional catharsis, or this whole, resolution of childhood angst or whatever.
Mind you, folks, none of that is in this movie, by the way, just so you know. There is no, I feel bad for the ex-wife thing in here. Okay, there's none of that. They don't give you the opportunity for that, nor I don't think do they care about that.
No.
And so yes, in one sense, I do agree with you. Hollywood currently in that mode, but in this movie, no. And there is
Yeah.
some crassness. Are there going to be some feminists that get upset about some of the stuff? I
Oh,
guess the
I
baby
thought that was a highlight, and so I understand why you liked what's her name,
Delia.
her character so much, because she threw out there all those tropes that we're always making fun of, and she did it, and the movie makes fun of her for it.
Yes.
And so it's really kind of entertaining on that aspect. So
Yes.
that's the only reason why I could somewhat appreciate her. But I thought the other 4 actors that I mentioned earlier did better in their performances. But
well, they even snuck in a Disney joke in this movie.
they did.
So I'm always in favor of that.
Well, and I mean, if you think about it real hard, they threw a Jeffrey Epstein one in there too. But you know,
yes, they did. Yes, they did. And you know, so understanding Charles's character and everything about it and what happens and all of that. If you look at the bigger thread of it, then yes, you get the joke.
Bird watching is a metaphor. I'm just saying.
Yes. Just, you know, but again, his characters in this movie way more than I ever thought that it would be.
Yeah.
I will say that.
I totally way more. Agree with you.
Shocked, actually. I was shocked that he kept popping back up. I won't tell you how he pops back up, you know, but yes, shocked. Considering the charges and registry that he is a part of now, and all
should be a part of, but keeps getting in trouble for not registering.
Yes, and you know, that's a shame. It's a shame, right? Like, it's somebody you've watched in some movies that you've adored over the years, some of your favorite movies.
Day Off.
And that's one case where it's difficult to separate the off the field from the on the field, because on the field they work with children, they work with families, they work with minors and other things. So it's hard to separate that. But anyway, so I give it a 6, you give it a 7. That's our Beetlejuice review. Take it or leave it, like it or not. So moving forward, I'm going to really do my best to try to make sure that I am on the same page, and that I go to see, or whatever it is, make the time so that we both can give a good in-depth opinion on it. Right. And so this is definitely one of them. There's others too, obviously we've talked about, but I just want to make sure that we can really kind of go back and forth. And this is one of those occasions that we disagree. That's okay. It happens.
That's awesome.
All right, kids.
And that gives you, our audience, a good perspective on the positives and negatives of this movie. So that you can make your own decision, whether it's a movie go, or if it's a streaming go, or if it's I can skip it altogether because I don't give a shit about it.
100%. Absolutely. That's that is exactly the way it should be, which is why we do this, right? It's why we do this in the first place, man. So we can kind of debate some of this stuff, have some fun with it, have some fun with the chat. And obviously, you know, what you guys bring to the table, we really appreciate it, man. I know I do. And it's a lot more fun with the participation. It's always fun with you, man. That's about all I've got for today. You know, as far as yourself is concerned, you good to go there too?
Yeah, man. You know me, I've got my photos coming out every week. I've got my skeleton photo coming out on Thursday, and my normal schedule throughout the week. You know, Mezco Mondays, Turtle Tuesdays, Wednesdays I try to do a Joe collab. Thursdays is kind of superhero stuff. Fridays is definitely superhero stuff for Friday Night Tights. Saturdays I've got Snake Eyes Saturday and a Savage Crucible Saturday. Sundays is another GI Joe one, and we start the whole week over again. And so I've got some new props, I've got some new figures, I've got some stuff to play with, and we've got a commercial coming soon. I don't know, I've given it to Punk so he can play it whenever he wants to, but it was designed for the Toys for Tots stream that's coming up in October, the 36-hour stream. But we've got a couple, hopefully, 1 or 2 more commercials coming for our show that'll be shown on there, off of what some of you guys helped us create. So we really appreciate you guys helping us come in on that. Other than
Absolutely.
that, you know, I've just got my Instagram and that commercial coming out that I've done. And Pop, what you got going on?
Yeah, man. Just trying to finish up the commercial and a new theme or a new intro for this show.
Not AI created.
Not AI created. I don't even do the AI created when it on my YouTube channel when it says generate your title in AI, generate your thumbnail with AI. I don't even do that. I make my own. You know, one day maybe I'll give it a spin, but I hate that maybe I'll like it and then I'll rely on it. And then all of a sudden one day it's going to be in charge of me and I'll be driving the AI around town. But anyway, so yeah, no, that's about it. Just working on that. It is band season. So the next 3 weekends I have band competitions and I am a volunteer parent every Saturday for those. So my Saturdays are completely taken up all day and all night with football games the day before. So it's really tricky with my streams, you know, trying to do Fridays and stuff like that. It is a little difficult right now for just, you know, 2 or 3 weeks of the month of September. So we're going to see how that goes, man. I really appreciate it. Obviously, and thank you to everybody, you know, that tunes in and hangs out with us, man. It really is. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week with some new topics and maybe some new news and maybe a list or so, maybe a top of list. We'll see. We'll discuss it. And so, yeah, man, that's about it, buddy. I guess I'll just take us out here, my friends. Y'all have a good night. Thank you for tuning into the big show. We'll see y'all next week, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Thanks again.